Hi guys, am I audible? Hello. Yeah, hi guys, am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's wait a couple of minutes. Let's start the class at 10:05 so that yeah, people can join. Ah. Okay. Okay, so yeah, let's start. Rest can join while the class is going on, right? Let's not waste any time. Okay, yeah. So first thing first, any doubts as of now? What we have like gone with the questions, like what we have covered so far? Any doubts? Anybody has any doubts? Can just unmute themselves and let me know, or you can like type in chat. Right? Any doubts? Any concept? Any problem? Right. We have covered, I guess, 7 out of 9 problems in the loops assignment, conditional assignment, 7 questions, right? So yeah, only two problems left for the day from the loops assignment. So can we go for more star patterns? Okay. I guess that's not in the assignment, right? So yeah, as of now, please try to like focus on the assignment, right? Continuing problem. Continuing problem. What do you mean by continuing problem? Loop problem. Loop problem. Yeah, which
Hi,
problem?
sir.
If you can like unmute yourself. Yeah, hi. Who's
Sir, how
this?
to find a number is distinct or not?
Okay, so how to find the number is distinct or not?
Yes, sir.
Given number is distinct. By distinct, what do you mean? In the array or like what is the description of the
Anything
problem?
in a integer, single integer, like
Uh, like if you can like elaborate more on the problem description. I'm not like able.
a problem is given in gym section. But I can't solve this problem. Can't find it is distinct or not. If
Distinct
in
in
2013 is distinct or not, how to find?
yeah, but see, you are just saying is distinct or not. Distinct means keep it is a single value, no repeated value for the same number, right? But in which case, like what data structure you are working on? That's what I'm asking. Array question it is. You see, it's an array question, right? I believe it's an array, right? As the character array contains distinct elements or not. So yeah, it's a question of array, and I believe array is not taught to you guys yet, right? So please wait for the other sir to complete arrays, right? So what was covered in today's class in by other sir?
So nested loop.
Okay, so nested loop is covered, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, after you covered loops, now nested loops. Now next like topic is going to be strings, and after that arrays comes, right? So just wait
Yes, sir.
till the
Tomorrow.
time of
Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
sir. Tomorrow array will be start.
Yeah, so just like go from the like read about arrays from the main class, and then after one day, we will be now from now on having a buffer time of one day. Like yesterday, what was taught to you, so you can have a day or so to basically revise those concepts before you come to doubt class, right? Because what we have observed is key in doubt class, like you just look at the solution, you understand it, but there is some sort of a lack in practice, right? देखो तुमने क्लास में पढ़ा और एकदम से आगे डाउट क्लास में वो देखोगे तो इतना जल्दी नहीं समझ आएगा, राइट? तो तुम्हें वहां पे तो एक दिन का बफर रखेंगे आज से कि जो तुमने कल पढ़ा था वो आज डाउट क्लास में ताकि एक दिन मिल जाए तुम्हें देखने के लिए, राइट? Right. So yeah, I guess we are also ahead from other classes, right? हमारी लूप असाइनमेंट पूरी हो गई है, बाकियों ने लूप शुरू भी नहीं करा, ठीक है? तभी मैं कह रहा था लूप में अगर किसी को कोई दिक्कत है तो वो बताओ, राइट? बाकी एरे के कॉन्सेप्ट जो है वो जब एरे आएगा तब कर, लूप्स तक कोई दिक्कत है तो। So we are able to print this from the loops. We are able to print this from the loops. Okay, so 2 2 3 3 4 4 4. Okay, yeah. You are not able to print. Okay, so you want some more questions on? Okay, sir. एक तो big light problem बहुत ज़्यादा डिमांड में आ रही है. Big light problem की दिक्कत क्या है? क्या नहीं समझ आया big light problem? I guess ये substitute teacher ने लिया था. Big light problem. हाँ, ये उस दिन हुआ जिस दिन मैंने क्लास लाइक नहीं करी थी. तो इसमें क्या दिक्कत क्या है? मतलब समझ नहीं आया big light कैसे हुई.
यस सर, समझ ही नहीं पा रहा उसको.
ओके, तो एक काम करते हैं, ये सर बिग लाइट नहीं आया तो क्या करें? मतलब इंस्ट्रक्टर ने कैसे बताया था? आप मेरे को पहले एक बार अगर आप वो बता पाओ वो बेटर हो जाएगा, तो फिर मैं आपको अपने तरीके से बताऊंगा. क्या मतलब उन्होंने क्या बताया था?
उन्होंने सर कोई वेलोसिटी का वो निकाल के बताया, वेलोसिटी एंड टाइम में.
ओके, ठीक है. तो इसमें ना मैं आपको चलो ये बिग लाइट प्रॉब्लम एक बार कवर कराएगी, डिमांड आई रही है. It's better कि एक बार इसको go through कर ले, right? Are you guys comfortable if we do big light problem once again, right? Any doubts, any issues?
Yes sir.
Yeah, if you guys are comfortable, please. Okay, so is the black code visible?
Yes sir, yes sir.
So big light problem में कोड से ज्यादा जरूरी ना इसका कॉन्सेप्ट है, राइट? कोड तो सेम वही कोड है जो इंस्ट्रक्टर ने आपको बताया, उसमें तो कोई चेंज 1% का भी चेंज आएगा. चेंज आएगा आपके कॉन्सेप्ट में, क्यों वो कोड एक्चुअली में चल रहा है, राइट? वो हमें समझना रहेगा. तो देखो अगर हम बिग लाइट प्रॉब्लम्स देखें तो नाम लिखते हैं, big right? See, in big light problem we are given 4 variables, right? We have Jian, we have Sunyo, right? Let's say we have Jian, Jian, we have Sunyo, right? Yes, Sunyo, right? Jian and Sunyo. Now we have their initial height, right? Initial height. Let's call them HI, right? Initial height, and we have their velocity of increment, right? So let's call it V. And now we can say कि there is height HI. Let's say HI को हम बोलते हैं जियान के लिए X हो गया, सुनियो के लिए Y हो गया, right? ये क्वेश्चन ना मैथ्स का ज्यादा है, right? और velocity of जियान के लिए let's call it VG and VS. यहाँ तक clear? Okay. So after this, there is one more condition. If you like clearly look at the constraints, like constraints में हमें पता है क्या दिया हुआ? हमें दिया हुआ 1 is less than or equal to H1, right? H2 less than H1, right? H1 क्या है? This is H1. Jian's height is H1, right? It's also called as H1, right? मैं bracket में लिख देता हूँ H2, right? तो इसमें फिर ये कि less than or equal to 1 0 0 0. अच्छा, इस ये constraint में given है, like this relation is given in the constraint, right? So one thing we can observe is H1 is always greater than H2, right? ये बात clear हुई? H1 is always greater than H2. There is no equality case in between them. There is always a inequality case, right? So Jian, I can say is Jian is somewhat greater than always Sunyo, right? अगर Jian ये है तो Sunyo ये होगा, right? Let's call it G and S, right? अब दोनों के पास लाइट है, लाइट वो अपने ऊपर मारेंगे और लाइट को इंक्रीमेंट करने की जो पावर है, like both of them have different velocities. So let's say कि जियान की लाइट अगर इतना बढ़ाती है, right? and सुनियो की इतना बढ़ाती है, तो is there a possibility कि they can have a same height, right? We have to find कि whether they will be having a same height or not. right? The answer is to be returned in true or false, right? Answer is Boolean value, that is true or false, right? Acha, true and false हमें देना है. यहाँ तक problem description is clear, right? We are given the height of Jian Sunyu with the velocity of the increments of height. We need to find whether their height will be equal to each other at any given point or not, right? Okay. Any doubts in the problem description? The first thing is the problem description should be clear, right? The main point is that Jian's height is always greater than Sunyu, right? This is the observation that we can do from this relation that is in the given constraints. It's not given directly in the problem description, it's given by the constraints. Okay, now let's have the look at this example diagram that I just showed you, right? इससे ना हम एक observation करेंगे, मैं आपको एक observation दिखाता हूँ और logical बात, right? हम logical बात ही करेंगे, right? इसमें ऐसा कुछ coding से related नहीं है, आपकी normal understanding. Okay, so let's say कि this Jian is greater, right? So you can see, let's call it GH, let's call it HG, right? Or let's change the color so that you can have a clear picture. अच्छा, अब देखना यहाँ पे ना 2-3 टेस्ट केसेस बनाता हूँ, इसी को ना कॉपी कर लेते हैं और इसको ना साइड में रखते हैं, राइट? एक और बना लेते हैं, इसको यहाँ रखते हैं, ठीक है? एक और बनाते हैं, इसको यहाँ. अच्छा, okay, so we have 3 like different, let's say, the states, right? Now मैंने 3 क्यों बनाए? Let's talk about them one by one, right? Okay, so we know कि Jian की height is hi, right? So let's call it HG and HS, right? HG and HS, HG, HS, right? Okay, now I know कि HG is always greater than HS, right? So I know कि ये white वाला part is always valid, right? ऐसा ही कुछ होगा, G बड़ा होगा, S छोटा होगा, थोड़ा सा भी छोटा हो, कुछ भी छोटा हो, जनरली छोटा ही होगा, बराबर नहीं होगा कभी भी. Now, what is the second parameter that can be a variable, right? It's velocities, right? Let's call it VHV or VG, right? VG and VS, VG and VS, VG and VS, right? Now, let's talk about why we have 3. So if you look clearly, this VG is less than VS, right? Okay, so I guess we need to edit this. तो इसको ऑलमोस्ट बराबर ही बनाते हैं, राइट? रफली एक बराबर सा लाइन खींच रहा हूँ, राइट? और इसमें हम छोटा बनाते हैं, राइट? नाउ देयर आर 3 सिनेरियोज इन दिस. ओके, दैट इज कि VG is less than VS, right? VG is equal to VS, right? VG is greater than VS, right? यहां तक क्लियर पिक्चर 3 क्या बता रही है, राइट? अब देखो, लेट्स टॉक अबाउट केस नंबर 1, राइट? इन केस नंबर 1 वी नो कि जियान्स हाइट इज ऑलवेज ग्रेटर देन सूर्य. सो आइडियली ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि जियान की अगर हाइट बड़ी है तो मेरे को उसको धीरे धीरे बड़ा करना पड़ेगा और सुनियो को मेरे को तेज तेज बड़ा करना पड़ेगा, राइट? राइट, तो इफ VG इज लेस देन VS, ऐसा क्यों चाहिए? देखो, हमें क्या करना, अगर आप इनिशियली देखो ना, इनके बीच में हाइट्स में ना एक गैप है, राइट? हमें इस हाइट को ना, इस गैप को श्रिंक करना, राइट? हमें रिलेटिवली इस गैप को श्रिंक करना. लेट्स से कि लेट्स टॉक अबाउट सेकंड 1 कि 1 सेकंड पे दिस इज द डिफरेंस, राइट? सो इफ यू लुक क्लियरली यू कैन सी कि Jian's height and Sunyo's height is incrementing at different velocities. So you can see कि this height is shrinked, right? This height is shrinked. So ideally मेरे को ऐसे ऐसे इतने इंक्रीमेंट्स करने हैं ताकि ये वाली जो पोर्शन है, ये वाला जो गैप है, मेन गैप, I can reduce this gap between those heights, right? Agreed. अगर मेरा कोई बड़ा भाई है और छोटा भाई है, दोनों बड़े भाई की हाइट बड़ी है, छोटे भाई की हाइट छोटी है, तो अगर मेरे को इन दोनों की हाइट बराबर करनी है तो बड़े भाई की हाइट धीरे धीरे बढ़नी चाहिए, छोटे बड़े भाई की हाइट जल्दी जल्दी बढ़ेगी, तभी तो दोनों बराबर पे आएंगे, राइट? एग्रीड. देखो, तो यही आइडियल केस है इस सिनेरियो का, राइट? तो एक बात तो हमें समझ आ गई कि वी नीड सच अ रिलेशन इन विच द हाइट ऑफ जियान इज ग्रेटर, दैट वी नो, so that makes the velocity of Jian should be low than Sunyo, right? So that Sunyo can cover up the distance or the gap in height, right? with the increment of time. Now let's talk about the second case, right? This is the second case, right? You can see that Jian's height is greater, Sunyo's is smaller. We know that. Now Vg is equal to Vs. So I can say that, see, the distance or the gap between the heights will always sustain. They will always be same, right? There will be no change because कोई variable ही नहीं है ना. अगर कोई 5 है और कोई 3 है, अगर दोनों को 2 2 से बढ़ा दोगे तो फिर 5 वाला 7 हो जाएगा, 3 वाला 5 हो जाएगा, राइट? 9 हो जाएगा, 7 हो जाएगा. हर हमेशा 2 का गैप रहेगा, राइट? सो यू कैन सी दिस गैप इज ऑलवेज सेम, राइट? दिस इज सेम. नाउ ये बात समझ आई. पहले में क्या था कि जियान की हमें कम रखनी थी, शून्यों की ज्यादा होनी चाहिए थी, ताकि हम गैप को कम कर पाए. धीरे 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 गैप कम हो जाए. ठीक है. दूसरा केस है कि कोई गैप मतलब दोनों की वेलोसिटी सेम है. All right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So the first case was कि we required a scenario in which we are able to like overcome the gap in between Jian's height and Sunyo's height, right? So for that we required the Jian's velocity of increment in height to be smaller as compared to Sunyo, right? Now in the second scenario we are having the velocity same, right? So if let's say कि Jian's height is 5 and Sunyo's height is 3. Now, if I increment both of them with the same velocity, I can say that the gap will sustain for n seconds, right? N number of time. No matter how many increments I do, if the both are height are incrementing at the same velocity, the gap will always sustain. Agreed? Now let's have a look at the third case also, right? Now in the third case, velocity of Jian is greater than the velocity of Sunyo. So you guys can see initially the gap was small, right? Gap was small, but after let's say 1 second, due to the change in the velocity difference or the velocity difference, you can see the change is quite significant, right? The change is now incrementing. So I can say that even though if I increment it again, let's do a demo increment, right? The increment in Jian's height is much greater as compared to Sunyo's height. So I can say even though if I do n number of like velocity changes or height increments, the heights of Sunyo and Jian can never be same, right? So these are the three scenarios that we need to consider, right? We know by the constraints Jian's height is always greater than Sunyo, h2 is Jian, oh sorry, h2 is Sunyo, this is Sunyo and this is Jian. Agreed? Now these are the three cases. Key velocities will be different, right? So Vg is less than Vs, Vg is equals to Vs, and Vg is greater than Vs, right? So according to these, we can consider, we can like generalize the pattern, right? Okay, so right, so I can say that this second and third, if this is the case, I will never get an answer, right? Height can, in case one, height can be equal. Height can be equal. Abhinav, what do you mean by equal? Initially equal or n number के बाद equal हो जाएगी? What is that you are saying? Okay, no worries. Yeah, please reply to that. Sir, case one में possibility है. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. कि देखो logical सी बात है यार. इसमें कोई कोड नहीं लिखा अभी तक, कोई कुछ नहीं करा. इसमें सिर्फ हमने अभी तक लॉजिक बिल्ड कर, राइट? इट्स ऑल अबाउट लॉजिक. कि if something is initially having a head start, I need to like increment my speed so that I can cover up the gap, right? If I'm like running with the runner at the same speed, I will never be able to catch it, right? Okay, so yeah, that's the same thing. And if the like the head start person is like having much more velocity than me, I will never be able to catch him because the gap will just keep on increasing, right? अब इसको किसी भी एग्जांपल से मान लो, अब मतलब दो बंदों के हाइट के मान लो, रनर ऑन अ ट्रैक मान लो, कार रेस मान लो, सिर्फ मतलब वही है हिसाब, वेलोसिटी में डिफरेंस कैसे होता है, राइट? या so I can say that for case number 2 and 3 I will always be having a false statement, right? False and false, right? False and false. The only possibility of getting a desired solution is in this situation, right? Here I can get a true solution, but not sure, right? I'm not sure कि I can get a true or not, right? Here I can say कि possibility of true. Now you might be saying ki, sir, this is the desired case, but why you're saying ki there is still a possibility? Why? What do we need to actually check? Okay, so we need to check ki is the difference between the height, initially the difference between height can be covered up, right? Can be covered up. It should not like convert into either of these cases, right? Let's just have a look. Okay. So let's try and understand this by a case. Now let's initially let's have Jian and Sunyu. Let's keep the Sunyu this height, which keeps Jian as this. Right. Now let's draw their velocities. Right. So ideally we need the velocity of Jian to be small and we need the velocity of Sunyu to be greater. Right. Now you can see by observation, initially the gap is this. Right, like this. Right. This is the gap, initial gap. Now, after 1 second of increment, you can see this is the new gap. Right. This is the new gap. So I can say after 1 second. Right. So you can say that the height differences reduce significantly, but will they ever be same? I can say no in this case, because at second, right? If I increment, I need to like still manage for this gap. So what I will be doing, I have no other option than simply increment the height, right? So I will be incrementing it. Now this has a smaller velocity, so it will be like doing this. Now, if you like clearly observe it, so you can see there is again increase in height difference, right? So I can say this is after 2 sec, right? 1 sec, we got a reduction, right? Reduction. Sorry. After 1 second, we got a reduction, but after 2 seconds, we again got an increment. Now, can you guys see a similarity between this current scenario that we are having and this one, third case, right? In this third case, now eventually the state of the first is converted to the third state, right? Yeah. So this is the situation where we need to again check. This is the reason why we need to check. Now, how do we check? The simple method to check it is basically using the modulus operator, right? Or using the fraction, right? Now, okay, so let's consider this gap, right? Let's consider this gap and the velocity gap. Let's have a look at them individually, right? Let's have a look at them individually. Let's call this Jian and Sunyu. Right, again, let's see. Okay, so Jian is greater, Sunyu is smaller, right? So let's do the next one. Right, let's call velocity of Jian, velocity of Sunyu. Right, Sunyu's velocity is much greater than Jian. Right. Okay. So now please have a look at this. See. Right. So this is the gap in height. Let's call it H, capital H. Sir, what is this? What is this? Like, what is this? This is a problem, right? Big light problem. Okay. See. Okay, so this is the height. By white, I am denoting the height. By blue, I am denoting the velocity. Right. So let's call it velocity. Right. This is the velocity difference. Now, if the relation, let's have a look at the relation also. If the relation of, let's say, height modulo.
हेलो सर
Yeah.
सर ये किस टॉपिक के ऊपर डिस्कस हो रहा है बिकॉज मेरा नेट स्लो होता है ना तो मैं थोड़ा लेट ज्वाइन कर पाया हूँ
Okay, so we are like discussing the big light problem. Like several of you guys were like requesting for the big light problem, so that's why we are like going through it over it again, right?
ओके सर बिग लाइट प्रॉब्लम क्वेश्चन का डिस्कशन है
Yes, it is.
ओके सर
Now, okay, so where were we? We were discussing about this formula, right? So now you guys can see ki I explained about these three conditions, right? What are the three possibilities? After that, we had one desired possibility, but that possibility also had a tendency to turn into the third state, right? Now we need to find whether it will turn into third state or it will give me a valid result. Okay, so now how can I do this? I need to basically validate this. What is this? Ki I will be like incrementing I will be basically reducing this gap, h gap, in small fractions, right? In small fractions. Let's say ki this is the v, right? I will be reducing this in the small fractions. Now using these fractions, can I basically achieve this h height, or I will be surpassing it, right? That I need to check. So let's call this. Okay, so let's see if this is v. This gap is v, राइट ये देखने में बड़ा लग रहा है, पर इसको अगर मतलब पिक्चर उसके अलावा इमेजिन करोगे तो आई नीड दिस टाइम दिस मेनी वीज, राइट? दिस मेनी वीज. सो इज देयर एनी परफेक्ट नंबर ऑफ वीज, लाइक परफेक्ट इंटीजर ऑफ वीज, लाइक with that multiple times I can basically achieve this h height, right? अगर ऐसा है तो I will be getting a perfect division, right? Simple use of modulus, right? कि let's say कि I need to cover the distance between 3 and 5, right? So the initial gap is 2. Now, is there the current, using the current velocity scenario that I am giving, let's say the velocity difference is of 1. Let's say Jian is incrementing at 1, Sunya is incrementing at 2. So I know that the velocity difference is of 1. So am I able to like achieve 2 units of height difference by the velocity difference of 1? Yes, perfect. 1 2s are 2. So that's what I need to check. Okay, so what will happen in the false case? See, there will be some sort of scenario in which the next increment is like slightly below this yellow line, and the next increment that I do will surpass it. So again, it will be converting to the third state, right? So that is why we need to check a perfect division. Perfect division, so that I can basically divide the let's say the height difference into n blocks, or k blocks of v height differences, right? Because after every second we will be covering this much of height difference, right? अभी इतना था इनिशियली, एक एक यूनिट बढ़ता जाए, कम होता जाएगा, मतलब हाइट डिफरेंस कम हो जाए. इतने यूनिट्स में कम होना चाहिए कि परफेक्टली कम हो जाए, राइट? अगर ज्यादा कम हो जाएगा तो फिर से वो सरपास करके इस स्टेट में आ जाएगा. दैट इज व्हाई वी नीड टू जस्ट सिंपली चेक फॉर द परफेक्ट डिवीजन. समझ आया? क्या करें बताओ? एनी डाउट्स इन दिस प्रॉब्लम? प्लीज लेट मी नो. Any problem, any state, any figure. Yeah, also language. If anybody has a like special demand in language, please let me know. We will be covering. Basically, I covered it in both. Last part नहीं समझा. Okay, last part नहीं समझा. Last part, I guess ये वाला part नहीं समझा होगा. Perfect division वाला, right? तो एक काम करते हैं, इसको ना आपको मैं दिखाता हूँ, राइट? इसको मैं आपको दिखा दूँ. अगर हम हाइट बना रहे थे वाइट से, लेट्स गो विद जियान्स हाइट, लेट्स गो विद सोनिया's height, right? Jian's height is greater, let's call it. Okay, so let's say कि this is Sonya's height. Okay, let's now talk in numbers also, right? तो आपको numbers में समझ. Let's say कि Jian's height is initially let's call it 5, let's call it, right? Now, okay, so let's also talk about the velocity difference, right? Let's talk about velocity. Velocity is, let's call it 1, right? And let's call it 2. So this is the velocity of 1. Yeah, so this is 1, this is 2, right? So you can see initially the height of Jian is 5, the height of Sunyo is 3, right? And velocity is 1 and 2, right? The incrementing velocity, right? The change that I will be getting, right? Acha, this is the state. The white is in the state of, white is 0 second, right? White plus blue is at 1 second, right? Why 1 second? Because see, initially तो इतना था ही था, 1 second बाद ये blue वाला part जुड़ेगा ना, right? तो ये ऐसे हो गया. अब देखो, अब इनिशियली जो गैप था, इनिशियली गैप क्या था? ये था, राइट? इनिशियल गैप क्या था? ये, राइट? Initial gap क्या था? Let's talk about the initial gap. The initial gap that I can say is HI, right? The HI is initially equals to, what is the initial gap? Let me know in the chart. 2, correct. So initial gap is of 2. Now I can say that I basically need to achieve I need to like satisfy or like reduce this gap between the heights. Now, okay. So let's talk again. Let's try to increment, right? Or let's first have a look at the, so this was at S0. So let's talk about HI0, basically initially 0th second. After 0th second, I can say the height difference that I got after 0th second is this, right? This is the height difference of, so let's call it H of S2, right? Second one, yeah, jo bhi de diya. HS1, that is height at second one, right? Now what is the height gap at the second one? I can say it's 6, 6, that is 5 plus 1, and 3 plus 2, 5. So that makes it 1, right? Are they equal? No, they are not equal. So I basically need to go again and increment the height, because I don't have any sort of other choice, right? So let's do this and let's do this, right? Now let's say again that this is 1 and this increment is of 2, right? Now what is the height difference? Let's have a look at the height difference. See, this is the height difference now. It's basically of HS2. What is the height difference? It's 0, right? So you can see if the division in between, right? You can say initially the height difference was of 2, right? Let's talk about 2. Now modulo, what was the difference in the velocities? I can say 2 minus 1, that is of 1, right? 2 minus 1 of 1. What is the answer of modulo 2 modulo 1? I can say it's a 0, right? Because it's a perfect division, right? So that's why. अब मान लो कि 3 की जगह कुछ और होता है यार, 3 की जगह मान लो कुछ और होता, लेट्स से कि नहीं, इसकी जगह यहाँ मानो कि ये 3 होता, right? Let's take the 3 case. Okay, so is this part clear, right? Before moving ahead, let me just know कि this part is clear कि how we are getting the height differences, right? So far, is it clear? Right? 2 1 2 1 2 1 by 2 by 1. See, that's actually what I was explaining, Sanket, कि हमें 2 हाइट का गैप, 2 फीट का गैप कवर करना है, राइट? तो मेरे पास जो वेलोसिटी में डिफरेंस आना चाहिए, देखो मैं किसी 2 बंदों की हाइट बढ़ा रहा हूँ, मैं 2 बंदों की हाइट ऐसे बढ़ाऊंगा ना कि जिस फ्रैक्शन में फिर वो बढ़ेंगे तो कम से कम गैप कवर होना शुरू हो जाए, राइट? अगर इनिशियली गैप 2 फीट का था तो एक इंक्रीमेंट के बाद 1 फीट बचना चाहिए, फिर एक इंक्रीमेंट करूं तो 0 फीट बचना चाहिए ना। तो गैप इस रेशो में कम होना चाहिए कि जब वो n नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स भी हो जाए तो परफेक्ट डिवीजन मिले मेरे को, कुछ रिमाइंडर ना मिले, राइट? मान लो अब गैप ही 2.5 फीट का है, तो और मेरे पास जो वेलोसिटी में गैप है तो 1 फीट का, तो मैं हर बार इंक्रीमेंट करके 1 फीट कम कर पा रहा हूँ, तो आधा फीट तो कभी कम ही नहीं होगा ना, राइट? गॉट इट? तो इसलिए होगा, ये चक्कर पड़ेगा। I hope this thing is clear, right? What I just said is, if I repeat it in English, is कि let's assume कि the initial height gap is of 2 feet, right? Now the difference that I can generate or I can achieve after each increment is of 1 feet, right? So I can easily achieve the 2 feet height difference, but let's say the height difference was initially of 2.5. I can increment 1, right? I can basically divide or gain 1 feet at a time, right? I can make my answer 1 feet closer, 1 feet closer, but I will never be able to achieve that half feet, right? So that's why I need a perfect division without a remainder, right? So modulus operator is helping me get the perfect division, right? Code of that problem. That problem basically, you mean the big light problem? We will be having a look, right? Yeah, we will be having a look. Right? If A is 0, B is 0. Okay. See, yeah, guys, please let me know before moving to the code. Is there any doubts concept-wise, right? This was the problem. The states that we discussed, right? 3 states in which the possibility of the solution can be, right? In the first state. After that, I explained why state 1 has a tendency to convert into state 3, and then why we need a modulus. अभी भी किसी को कोई डाउट है तो बताओ। right? I guess not. So yes, exactly, Sanket. Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's have a look at the code. Let's have a look at the code. Yeah. Okay, yeah, guys, is the screen visible? Is the code visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess यार इसी को ना explain कर देता हूँ. Right, code लिखा ही हुआ है, इसको दोबारा क्या ही. Right, I guess this is the exact code that faculty wrote, right? So yeah. See, what we have done is, let's go through the problem description once, right? So problem description basically says the same thing. Let's have a look at the input part. You can see we need a 4 space separated integers, right? So four integers that we require. Now, what are those 4 integers? H1, height of Jian; H2, height of Sunyo; V1, speed of light gain of Jian; and V2 of Sunyo. So 1 is for Jian, 2 is for Sunyo. H is height, V is velocity, right? So first thing is we need a scanner, right? We need a scanner to basically take the inputs. After taking the scanner, we basically create 4 variables, that is height of Jian, right? Height of Sunyu, yeah. So this is again the velocity of Jian, right? Velocity of Jian and velocity of Sunyu, right? Now this is finding the gap, right? मैं आपको दिखा रहा था ना HI, that is initially like H1 minus H2 height difference. So this is finding the initial height difference. Find initial height difference, right? This is the initial height difference, and this is the difference, right? Difference between the velocity. Difference between the velocity. Now, okay, यहाँ तक समझ आया what we are taking the inputs? Is this thing clear? What are the inputs and how we are calculating, right? So let's say कि A is right. A is the difference in height, B is the difference in velocity. Now after that, we are checking B is equals to 0, right? What is B is equals to 0? Basically, the velocity of both these heights are same. Now, there is only one possibility if both the heights, both the change in velocity is same, right? मैंने आपको वही बताया, अगर कोई difference है तो वो कभी clear ही नहीं हो पाएगा, वो उतना ही linearly बढ़ेगा. But if the initial height is also same, right? This, I guess, this step is like clearly not required, because you can see H2 is always less than H1. So we can basically, ये वाला होना तो नहीं चाहिए, but फिर भी error handling करके लिख दिया कि if the height gap is also 0, right? If A is also 0, like they are already at an equal level, so I can say कि yeah, they are at equal heights at second 0, right? Else अगर velocity में कोई change नहीं आ रहा, कोई difference नहीं है, तो और height में difference है, तो वो कभी achieve नहीं हो पाएगा. Simply do a printout of false, right? Else part is, if I'm getting a perfect modulus, right? If I'm getting a perfect modulus of A modulo B, that is height modulo velocity, then simply print a true, else print a false, because I told you that the solution key, it has a tendency of case 1 converting into case 3, right? So these are the simple checks. It's nothing complex. The only complex thing is if whether you are able to imagine those several scenarios where height difference is playing a major role, right? So yeah, this is exactly the code that is required. Any doubts in code, any line number, please point it out and I will be explaining it individually. कोई भी doubt हो अभी clear कर लो. Yeah. A by B, everything is fine. A by B, yeah, A by B is, let's say, yeah, that thing only we discussed now. H modulo V, it needs to be 0. Why H modulo V? Sir, if say एक बार repeat कर दो. If say, अच्छा, देखो b इज ओके, सो यार इसको ना b को हटा ही देता हूँ मैं, इसको ना कैपिटल B ले लेता हूँ, जैसे हमने ना उसमें देखा था। तो b की जगह हमने पहले देखा कि देखो h is gap in heights, initial gap in heights, v is gap in velocities, right? So let's first check कि if velocity gap is 0, right, there is, it's basically checking for the second scenario, right, second case. Now if that's the case, I can only have a true solution if the height gap is also initially 0, right? अगर दोनों बराबर height की हैं और velocity भी बराबर तरीके से change हो रही है, तो I can say कि 1 या 2 सेकंड बाद वो मतलब कुछ भी इंक्रीमेंट करो या ना करो वो बराबर ही है, right? So that's why we are having a true or false case. Now else part is very critical because in this we are like checking for the case 1, right? So let's say the gap in height is divisible by velocity, right? I am somewhat able to cover up for the gap in height with n number of gaps in velocity. So I can clearly say that yes, after I don't know how many tries, but after n tries I can surely say ki, yeah, they will be getting the same, right? And if that's not a perfect division, I can say, yeah, it's a false case, right? So this was, guys, your big light problem. I hope it's clear now, right? Right. ऐसे मतलब लास्ट फैकल्टी ने कैसे पढ़ाया था? डायरेक्ट कोड कैसे क्या था?
Using formulas.
Sorry.
Using formulas.
Okay, so she taught you using formula without picturization, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so अभी समझ आया पिक्चराइज करके सारा कुछ? Okay. Yes. Okay, yeah, cool. So let's move to the next problem for the day, right? Let's at least cover one problem, right? So factorial with loops. Let's do this. I'm not attending the yesterday doubt session. That's why I'm not doing power, sir. Okay, power वाला करते हैं यार, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. Sir, actually I'm not.
सर फैक्टोरियल क्लास में हो गया अभी.
ये हो गया फैक्टोरियल लूप वाला?
हाँ अभी क्लास में.
ओके, तो इसमें कैसे करा मतलब?
फॉर लूप से.
फॉर लूप या इनिशियली स्कैनर की इसमें जरूरत है? यस, ओके, तो स्कैनर की जरूरत है. तो इसमें इनिशियल स्टार्टिंग वैल्यू क्या लेते हैं हम? लाइक उन्होंने ऐसे कुछ करा होगा ना स्कैनर में, राइट? स्कैनर लिया होगा, फिर एक इनपुट इन कराया होगा, उसके बाद उन्होंने आंसर कैलकुलेट करना शुरू करा होगा.
हाँ सर.
तो i is equals to n, या तो इसमें बस एक सिंपल फॉर लूप 0 से n तक. Yes, it's exactly this. Yeah, so you can either go from n to 0 or 0 to n. That's basically the same. So let's go with power of a number. Okay, power of a number. So is this problem covered in the main class?
नहीं सर.
All right, so let's do this. The two numbers are entered through the keyboard. Write a program to find the value of one number raised to the power of another. Right, do not use Java inbuilt function. Okay, so the first line will contain two numbers A and B. In the output you need to print an answer, right? So 5 to the power of 3, right? 5 2s are 5 into 5 is 25, 25 3 is 125, right? So are you guys able to see the pattern here? Right, let's quickly go with this scanner, right? Scanner SC is equals to new scanner, right? System dot in, right? Cool. Let's go with A is equals to SC dot next int, right? Int B is equals to SC dot next int, right? I'm basically getting these two values, right? S and T. Now I need to create an answer. Let's create an answer. Int answer is equals to 1 initially, or let's create an answer initially as A, right? Let's create an answer as A. Now why A? Because एक बारी तो होगा यार, right? उसके बाद हम देखते हैं for int I is equals to 0, right? Or I is equals to, let's say 1, I is less than let's then b, right? I plus plus, right? Or let's say कि it's also 2, right? 1 वाला part तो यहाँ consider हो गया ना, right? यहाँ इसको initially answer को आप 1 ले लो, कोई चक्कर नहीं, ऐसे करना, ऐसे कर दो, ऐसे करना. Now let's make it answer is equals to, right? Answer is equals to answer
Answer into B.
star answer into b, right? System dot out dot print ln answer, right? Any doubts, any problem, any error you guys are able to find in my type? I guess let's do 5, 3. Let's try and run this code. यार मेरे ख्याल से ना मल्टीप्लिकेशन है तो हम लॉन्ग ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए, राइट? I guess इसको आंसर को लॉन्ग बनाते हैं. I less than and equal to, yeah, I guess I is less than and equal to console 3 5.3. Let's try and run it. We get to side of error. Start B. Answer is 1. Answer star B. Answer is okay. So all right. Sorry, we need to multiply it with A, right? We need to multiply it with A, right? Because B times we need to run and we need to multiply it with A. And so let's do it. 5 and 3. Let's see. 125. Yeah. So see, guys, we are basically taking this two variables, right? It's almost same as A raised to the power of B, right? This is the situation. So we need to like multiply A B times. So that's why we are running a for loop for from I is equals to 1 to B and multiplying A that many times, right? So it's a simple thing. Now let's try and submit it. 10 minutes, 10 fail. Nice. So this.
Sir, line number 30.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. 30. Yeah, thank you for that, buddy. Yeah, so I guess that's this problem, right? Yeah, it's just pretty much this problem. So any doubts in this problem? Any doubt? Anybody? Anyone?
सर कंस्ट्रेंट जो है वो कंसीडर करना पड़ेगा क्या वैसे इफ लगा के?
कौन सा कंस्ट्रेंट? अच्छा ये?
हाँ
नहीं, इसमें कोई जरूरत थोड़ी है, इफ की कोई जरूरत नहीं. कैसे कौन सा कंसीडर करना चाहते हो?
यूजर को 1 और 15 के बीच में करना पड़ेगा, इनपुट देना पड़ेगा.
देखो कंस्ट्रेंट जब दिया होता है ना, कंस्ट्रेंट का मतलब वही है कि जो अंदर के टेस्ट केसेस है ना वो इस रेंज में आएंगे, राइट?
अच्छा,
अगर हम अभी यूजर को एक्सपोज ही नहीं कर रहे, ये एल्गोरिदम अंदर चलेगी मशीन पे, राइट? तो तुम कर सकते हो, वो एरर हैंडलिंग होती है जब हम ना कोई एक फंक्शनल कोड लिख रहे हैं. यहाँ में हम डेटा सक्सेस करें, कंस्ट्रेंट के अंदर बस अपने डोमेन को रखोगे तो सही रहेगा, राइट? तो उसमें चेक करने की जरूरत. नाउ okay, so one thing for tomorrow's class is ki I would like you guys to all go along with the questions, like practice them, basically collect all your doubts, right? Please collect all your doubts because tomorrow I guess we won't be having any sort of an assignment to be solved. From tomorrow I will be like either bringing my own problems to basically show you guys loops, or I can take your problems, right? And we can have a discussion on it, right? Explain line number 14. Okay, Manish, line number 14 is basically saying ki start from I is equals to 1 and go till I is less than equal to B, right? Because we need to multiply A B times, right? Yeah. Okay, so so that's why we are writing this in the following manner, right? Got it?
सर
हाँ.
सर एक वो क्वेश्चन पूछना सर आपसे कि
बोलो।
उसमें सर वाइल सॉल्विंग सम क्वेश्चंस सर ऐसा होता है कि उसमें जो सैंपल इनपुट आउटपुट सर जो मेंशन होता है उस वो पास हो जाता है, बट सर जब सबमिट करने जाते हैं तो उस टाइम टेस्ट केसेस सर फेल होते हैं, तो उसको सर कैसे हैंडल किया जाए?
तो वो उसमें बस वही केस है ना कि आपने जनरलाइज कोड नहीं रखा, मतलब आपके कोड में कोई ना कोई ऐसा एरर है जो एक ना एक टेस्ट केस पे फेल हो रहा है, राइट। हमारा काम ये नहीं कि हमें सिर्फ जो गिवन इनपुट्स हैं उस पर पास करना, हमें एक जनरलाइज लिखना है,
अच्छा।
राइट। तो उसमें फिर आपको एक बार वो देखना पड़ेगा कि कहाँ पे दिक्कत आ रही है, उसका एज कोई परफेक्ट सॉल्यूशन नहीं बता सकता, राइट।
सर उसको मतलब हैंडल करने के लिए कैसा कुछ स्टेप्स या कोई टिप्स सर
यार
अगर हो तो सर शेयर करें।
एज सच कोई टिप नहीं होती, हाँ वही एज केसेस हैं, एज केसेस में आपको ना मैनुअली सोचना पड़ता है कि अच्छा ये केस होगा तो इसको ऐसे हैंडल कर सकते, लाइक जैसे पीक एलिमेंट वाला केस था, राइट। अब पीक एलिमेंट में हम सीधा लिख सकते हैं कि दोनों साइड लेफ्ट एंड राइट से कंपेयर कर लो, बट rather than doing that we individually handled like the case for the 0th position and n-1th position, right? So that's basically how you deal with the edge cases, right?
ओके।
Yeah, so edge cases is something that you have to like manually think of and write the code to basically do it yourself, right? So complete today itself sum of first 10 natural numbers problem. First 10 natural numbers. यार ये तो करा दिया ना, मेरे को समझ नहीं आया तुमने क्या बोला उसको। First 10 natural numbers. Send. What did you do? Okay, so I guess we covered the entire loops assignment. Yeah, anybody has any doubts in it, any doubts, any question that they want to discuss? And sir, after module 1, will we have a test? Yes, you guys will be having a test for sure to just check whether you guys print some 10. Okay, since can you just unmute yourself and let me know what is the problem with print some 10? This question. Upside, sir. Upside? Please unmute yourself. Yeah, I am not able to get what you're saying. Can you solve this? I missed, sir. Okay, so print sum 10 is basically, right, it's basically running a for loop from 1 to 10 and summing that in a variable and simply printing it. All right, this is the code of print sum. Okay, Shubham, Krisha, okay, Shubham, we can like let's not take one-on-one doubts as of now, right? Because it's a general doubt class session. If you are like interested in getting one-to-one sessions or specific problem you have doubt in, please please ask your batch manager to arrange a one-to-one session, right? There you can ask one-to-one. But in general doubt session, we will be focusing on a mass so that mass can get most. Okay, so guys, yeah, that's pretty much it from my side for today's class, right? We discussed the loops assignment. What happens if we fail the test? Like, I'm not sure about what happens if we fail the test, but यार fail का सोच ही क्यों रहे हो? पहले fail सोच रहे हो? Please, yeah, just try and give it your best shot. Pass or fail, we will see later. Please do the hard work, so you will be pass. You will pass. Like there won't be any chance of failing. Yep. Right. Yeah, so we get some questions. How to improve logic building? See, Prashil, logic building will come with time, right? Will come with time, right? So, see, I know you guys are beginners, so like जितनी जल्दी मेरे को कोई चीज क्लिक होती होगी आपको नहीं होती होगी, right? So ये है कि टाइम के साथ धीरे धीरे आ जाएगी। प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग ऐसे ही इंप्रूव होती है कि आपने जब देखोगे ना नई नई चीजें कि अच्छा ये ऐसे होता है, तो एक प्रॉब्लम का सॉल्यूशन आप दूसरी में लगाओगे, राइट? यू विल लर्न फ्रॉम वन प्रॉब्लम, इम्प्लीमेंट इट ऑन अनदर, सो दिस वे यू विल बी लाइक getting to know what are the patterns, what are the logics available to basically solve these problems, right? It will take a bit of time, but yeah, you will be get used to. Okay, we get some questions from module.
उसमें क्या होता है सर कि मतलब हमने क्वेश्चन देखा, समझ में आ गया कि क्वेश्चन ये है, इसमें करना क्या है वो, लेकिन जो जब कोड करने जाते हैं ना तब कुछ आइडिया नहीं आता कि कैसे आंसर मतलब जो लूप को घुमाना है या फिर क्या लॉजिक लगाना है कि इसका आंसर ये इस तरह से प्रिंट होगा। उसके लिए हमें मतलब कोड देखना पड़ता है कि तब लाइट हो जाती है कि हाँ ये ऐसा हो जाएगा।
बस ऐसे ही सीखोगे यार, ऐसे ही सीखोगे। आप मान लो कि अभी आपसे नहीं हो रहा, राइट। पर कितनी बार ही देखोगे, 10 बार देखोगे, 10 के बाद 11वीं बार में तो याद आएगा ना कि भाई 10 बार देख चुका हूँ, ऐसा ही कुछ होगा, लिख लूंगा इसको। तो धीरे धीरे वही होगा। अभी तक आपने फॉर लूप कितनी बार लिखा होगा? 10 बार लिखा होगा, 20 बार लिखा होगा, राइट। मैंने कितनी बार लिखा होगा? मैंने 1000-2000 बार फॉर लूप लिखा होगा, राइट। तो वही फर्क है ना आपके और मेरे में, कि मेरे को जैसे क्लिक हो रहा है वो आपको नहीं हो रहा, बट टाइम के साथ आपको भी क्लिक होना शुरू हो जाएगा, राइट।
ओके
Right. Okay, so Bobby is saying ki will we have same questions from the module? No. Those questions will be totally new, right? फिर फायदा क्या हो यार टेस्ट कराने का, राइट। वो तो वही हो गया ना, किसने अच्छा रट्टा मारा, किसने 50 क्वेश्चन अच्छे करे वो पास हो गया, लाइक ऐसे नहीं। लॉजिक बिल्ड चेक करना होगा, प्रॉपर बिल्कुल नए क्वेश्चन आए। Yeah, so Abhinav Sharma is saying, sir, in leap year, if year is divisible by 4 and year is divisible by 400 or year is divisible by 50 zeros, please tell, sir, in this, please tell the purpose of writing year is divisible by 100 or 0 for decades. Okay, sir, for decades. Purpose of writing divisible by 100. Yeah, I guess I remember that there is some sort of a condition, right? See, if the number is divisible by 400 and is not divisible by 100, so it's basically like checking that. I'm not really sure about the question. Let's go with the question. Let's have a look at the question. This module में है, I guess conditionals में है. Number of days leap year. Yeah, so you can see if a leap year is the year that is multiple of 4, right? But multiple of 100, which is not a multiple of 400, are not a leap year. अगर कोई नंबर 100 का मल्टीपल है और उसका नहीं है 400 का, तो वो लीप ईयर, राइट। So it's basically managing how you use this, right? We use like for staircase like a structure, it's just simply writing it in a single line also, right? Now, okay, so let's say if year is divisible by 4, right? It's a divisibility of 4, and here is not divisible by 100, not divisible by 100, or year is divisible by 400. It is correct, I guess. यार ऐसे में तो यार देखना पड़ेगा कैसे बन रहा है, right? So basically relation ठीक होना चाहिए, बाकी तो पता रहेगा, right? Yeah. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Please bring your doubts tomorrow, right? I will be like taking the doubts that are in generally most asked, right? Yeah, that's what will be happening tomorrow. Okay. So yeah, let's wrap it up then. Okay. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good night.